Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.
Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. Today we are glad to bring on a special guest. She's an engineer, educator, researcher, and activist. I met her when she was a part of the Amun-Ra Squad. Well, I've known her from being a part of the Amun-Ra Squad as a debater. She has a great STEM program for children that she works with young girls and young boys in STEM. And without further ado, I'd like to bring to the panel Dr. Oya Ma'at.
Hello. Peace, beloved. How are you?
Peace. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain. Thank you so much for the invitation. I love how you like, come on, very assertive. You're like, let's get it. And I love your persistence. And I really appreciate, the invitation of being on your platform. I had the opportunity to look at some of your guests, some of your previous interviews, and it's an honor to be on your platform.
Well, thank you so much. You have a first name of Oya. My head Orisha is Oya. So if you know who Oya is.
Absolutely. And look, and check this out. I named myself Dr. Oya Edwa Ma'at. And then I went to a Babalawo, went to two of them, one based in Florida and then one in Philly. Shout out to Baba Sekou out of Philadelphia. And both of them said, you're actually Omo Obatala, but we could have two.
Right.
So I had who claimed my head was Obatala. Okay. But I'm also a child of Oya as well. So
right.
I was on the right path, but they said, no. Obatala claims your head.
Well, Obatala is a very honorable. That's like he actually is the owner of all heads. The Obatala Orisha, and that's the father of the white cloth.
That's right.
So that's a beautiful thing. Do you practice Yoruba tradition? I saw that you went to Ghana,
yes,
and things like that. So let's get a little bit of research, not research. Let's get background on who you are, things like that.
So to answer your question, I did get initiated. I have my Aleke, but I'm still studying. So I'm a baby. I'm a baby in it. You seem like you're more ahead in your journey than I am. Still a baby and still learning about that tradition, but I gravitated towards it. And the funny thing about it is I went to African ancestry and I had I traced my maternal and paternal DNA. So I traced my mother's X and my father's Y. And I found out that my father's Y went back to the Yoruba people of Nigeria. That's where his Y could. So I said, wow, maybe that is why I was so connected to Ifa. I was connected to it. But I will say this, my goal is to learn all of the African spiritual systems, study Ma'at, study Ifa. I want to study Voodoo. I want to study the Akan. Like I want to study all of our spiritual systems because what I've come just in my basic, understanding of it, they're all connected. They're all connected. And I remember, and shout out to, it was a brother by the name of Benjamin Njai. I believe that he's actually a priest, an Ifa priest. And I remember years ago, he said to me, whenever you study any of these African spiritual systems, he said, you notice three things, right? He said it's always, veneration of the creator, veneration of what he called the lesser spirits, veneration of or reverence. We can say veneration, but reverence of the creator. He called them lesser spirits or other spirits, right? The ancestors. And then he also said character. It's a big emphasis on good character, or what Baba Baruti calls EY Pele, ideal character, or EY Ray Ray. So if you look at all of these spiritual systems, it's emphasis on that, and also respect for nature, right? Living amongst nature in harmony, right? So not trying to subdue nature, but understanding that nature is a part, you're in partnership with nature, and that you are one and the same, and that everything is interconnected. And so whatever African spiritual system you practice, you see these elements, right? These similar elements in all of them. And so again, even though, yes, if you notice, even with my name, Oya, right? That's Ifa. Then you say Edwa, right? That's a Ghanaian name. I said I was born on what, Monday. And then I have my aunt. So I always say this is my Pan-African name, right? So it's a Pan-African name.
Right. You pull something from every different thing. You're gonna add more names.
Come on.
As you go around Africa.
Look, as I can look. I went to Cameroon. I had the honor of traveling to Cameroon, and let me move over so I can get in the shot. I went to Cameroon back in 2021. And they gave me a name when I was there. The Bamileke people gave me a name. They named me Mervo Zingatingo. So Queen Mother who travels the country to elevate her people. Mervo Zingatingo.
Well, so you're going to add that on to there.
Come on, got to add it on.
It's going to be like Tiki Tiki Timbo after a while. Remember that story? Tiki Tiki Timbo, no saw Rimbo, Cherry Berry. You're going to have, it's going to be... It's gonna be like Tiki Tiki. Just keep adding.
Just keep on adding names on. So,
right.
So
Facebook
ain't
even gonna have a long enough. The table's gonna be like, no, the table cannot even put that many words in it. So the limit has this decree. It's not, you reach the limit. But
absolutely. But more about myself. I was born and raised in Baltimore. Baltimore County, not Baltimore City. I was raised as when people hear Baltimore, they think, they're thinking about The Wire in Baltimore City.
Well, Christian Rock is now Baltimore.
Exactly. So they thinking about Baltimore City, but I grew up in Baltimore County. My parents had purchased a house out there in the 70s, and but the majority of my family lived in the city, so I spent a lot of time in Baltimore City, specifically East Baltimore City. Went to Baltimore County schools. With the exception of 1 year, I went to a city school, Polytechnic, but I didn't know how to act. I was in there cutting up, and they kicked my butt right on out. And I went to my zone school in Baltimore City. And I remember senior year, my mother approached me with a magazine. And she said, what are you going to major in when you get in college? And there wasn't a question in my household when I was brought up whether I was going. It was, okay, you're going, but what are you going to major in? And I said, I want to be a history major. That's what I told her. And my mother, who is an educator, she's an educator. She was an educator in Baltimore City for 35 years. And she was a teacher initially, and then she went from a teacher to a vice principal to principal, and then from principal to assistant to the area executive of Baltimore City Public Schools. And so anyway, she said, you're not going to be a history major because the end road is a history teacher. And she said, baby, teachers don't make any money, and I don't want that for you. And so she came in the house with a magazine that listed the top 10 paying majors. And at that particular time, computer engineering was the top major. And so I said, well, I said, Mom, I'm good with math and science. I think I can do this. And she was like, well, Morgan State University has a great, engineering program. So we went over to Morgan. We went to their open house, and she fell in love with the school. She fell in love with the facility, the leadership, the program. She was impressed by the students, and she was like, you're coming here. But the issue was Morgan did not have a computer engineering degree or curriculum. They had a electrical engineering curriculum or degree. And so I end up pursuing my electrical engineering degree at Morgan State. And shout out to, the Morgan State. I always call them the dream team, that was at Morgan that really nurtured myself and so many of us that came through there. People like Dr. Wheatland, Dr. Grace, Miss Grace Mack, Dr. Pamela Lee Mack. I had Dr. Carl White, Dr. Craig Scott. I'm trying to think who else. Of course, Dean DeLoach, who was he's the founding dean of the School of Engineering. We just actually dedicated a lecture hall to him. He's in his 80s. He's actually 88, I think, but dedicated lecture hall to him. I'm trying to think of Mr. Hall, people like that, and so salute to those people who nurtured me and nurtured a lot of us when we came through, because you got to remember, engineering is a white male dominated field. And if you go back and you do your research, Morgan State University had to fight for that program at Morgan State University. They had to fight the state to get the program, to get the electrical program there, the electrical engineering, and also industrial and civil engineering, those three that they offer. But they had to fight to get that there, and they got it there in 1984, but it was a fight because the state wanted to split the program up between UMBC and Towson. Well, UMBC and Towson are both predominantly white institutions. So what message are you saying? You're saying that basically, I don't think that Black kids either can learn STEM and or interested in not STEM but engineering, or interested in engineering. And so they fought the state. They got the program there, and the first class graduated, I believe, in 1988. They graduated the first class of engineers. Wow. And so that was my journey there. I'm also a child of a community activist. My father, he's a Morganite. He graduated with his degree in economics, and he is, I won't say was, but is a community activist. Did a lot of community work in Baltimore City. Used to work for the Department of Juvenile Services, and so definitely an activist. And then he got that from his mother, whom I look very much like her. Like, it was crazy. I looked at a picture the other day and I was like, wow, I spit an image of my father's mother, and also have her attitude. So I am a child of an educator and an activist. And so that's the sum total of me. And that's what you see today. I am an educator, and I am also a community activist. So I'm the sum total of my mother and my father, and then their parents. And so my mother and I always joke that it's in the blood.
So that's interesting. Your mom said, don't get into teaching and you ain't gonna make no money, but that you end up getting into teaching anyway.
Exactly. 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 I mean, I did. I'm a professor there now. So like you said, I end up getting into teaching anyway. I went in the industry. I worked at Hewlett Packard. I did some work at, the Department of Defense, but it just didn't satisfy my soul. It just wasn't fulfilling. And it didn't matter the amount of money. It didn't matter. Oh, you're an engineer, you can make this, or you did make this. The money didn't matter to me. What matters to me is my passion and, and being filled, my soul being satisfied, and my soul wasn't satisfied until I actually became a professor. That's what I teach. That's what I do full time. I teach, and I love it. And I was able to, however, merge both of my passions, which is history and STEM. And so I teach my students, even though I teach them in electrical engineering concepts, I teach it from an African-centered perspective. So they are introduced to our contributions, and they understand our contributions to engineering. They understand that we are the pioneers of engineering, that STEM was born in Africa. So I walked them back through that, and so I was able to merge my passion, of history and also engineering, but when I teach history, I teach it in the context of engineering. So it was crazy how later on I was able to merge both of my passions, history and STEM.
So people don't realize how important electrical engineers are in the world. When it even just comes down to how much of everything is there's a system to everything, right? And 99% of the time, those systems don't fail. When you flick on a light, you expect it to turn on.
That's right.
99, and it will. 99%, unless there's something seriously wrong or something's going on. 99.9%, if done correctly, those systems do not fail. and electrical engineers are the reason why you have lights. I mean, have your inventions. You know, I'm an inventor, so I tried to create a phone case that actually had two sides with the screen on it and stuff like that. And guess what? I had to go to an electrical engineer to that understood how the actual port of the iPhone is used to be able to create a something like that. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
yeah, patenting a lot of like your patent ideas, you have to kind of push it through an electrical engineer to vet that aspect of your project. So electrical engineers are very, very important. So I just want to go into that.
No, I'm glad that you did it. And first of all, I do want to address this. Some people don't even know what electrical engineering is. They when they hear electrical, they think that you deal solely with, you know, electricity. Um, and they think of a technician, and this is no, you know, disrespect to technicians. Actually, one of my backbone, Mr. Andre Lewis, over at Morgan, he's like, you know, he's phenomenal. He is a technician, and I would argue that he has more knowledge of how devices work together and how to apply, you know, all of these devices to a real world application faster than some of the professors, including myself. And so it's no diss to any technicians out there, but typically when people think of electrical engineering, like you said, they think about your BG&E person, you know, that comes in to check your breaker and to make sure that, you know, that your switches are working. But that's not electrical engineering. Electrical engineering is the application of math and science, right? To definitely solve problems that deal with, you know, yes, we deal with electricity, but we deal with a whole number, you know, of things. For example, you know, you wouldn't have a Google search engine without an electrical engineering. It would be no Google. You wouldn't have the internet without an electrical engineer. You wouldn't have a computer without an electrical engineer. You wouldn't have a cell phone. When you open up your cell phone, what's inside of your cell phone? It's a circuit. And then what else do you use? Not only do you build the cell phone with electrical parts, but then I got to transmit and receive, right? So I have to transmit, meaning process signals to be sent somewhere. And then I have to receive those signals, process them, and then put them in a way that the user can hear it. So now we're talking about signal processing applications. So you wouldn't have a cell phone. No one be riding around here with cell phones or wearables, or you know how we have smart watches that tells us, you know, what your heart rate is or how many steps you had today or your sleep patterns. You would not have that without an electrical engineer. I just want to keep cooking for a sec.
Okay, I was gonna say people don't even understand how intricate this little thing is right here.
Come on, talk about it.
It's not just this thing. This thing has so much going on with it, because it receives signals and it receives information. It transports information and a whole bunch of other different things. Also, it can power things. So, and then to be able to transfer that over into something and make it be something else, that's where you get. That's how intricate it can be. So yeah,
no, absolutely. You wouldn't have autonomous driving cars without engineers. Think about it. Your Tesla has sensors all around it, constantly collecting and processing data to tell your car if it's an object, is that a tree, is that a human, right? So that you wouldn't have a Tesla, you wouldn't have autonomous driving cars, you wouldn't have drones. People love to fly drones now. You wouldn't have drones. What about airplanes? What about cars that have you have a computer in your car, right? Bluetooth, you know, and even cybersecurity. That's a field, that's a subfield in electrical engineering. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. They are subfields within electrical engineering. Material science, a subfield in electrical engineering. Coding, programming in various languages, Python, C++, C, Java. All of those things are what electrical engineers do. We even do we're even project managers. I would even argue that electrical engineering is one of, if not the broadest engineering field. We can do a lot of things, But a lot like, so that means as an electrical engineer, I can go into these other fields and do what they do. A lot of those other engineering fields can't come over to electrical engineering and do what we do. It's a difference. It's a difference. So I'm glad, Queen, that you mentioned that, that people don't understand the importance of electrical engineering. And I want people to understand that there's a difference between an electrical engineer and a technician. And like you said, the subfields or the uses or applications of electrical, even wearables, Queen, even wearables, the iPods, all of that stuff. You wouldn't have any of those things without an electrical engineer.
Yes, and people don't understand that even from an invention standpoint. A lot of time you have to go to an engineer to be able to suss out exactly how is this going to work. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're making something electronic. Because like I said, I was trying to make a case that had a camera on both sides, so that not a camera, like a how you have a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your iPhone. I was trying to make a case that you could put, and then using this like kind of flat thing that they have in Japan. It was like an LED screen where you could create a case out of that. But because of the fact that the actual port on the iPhone and the Samsung was different at the time, you had a specific iPhone port that was patented only to iPhone. So it would be it was so intricate. It was like, wow, I did not realize that just trying to plug something into something was that deep.
Absolutely. And people look at those tiny devices and be like, oh, I didn't know that all of that. Even, Queen, let me say this. Even when I remember having a conversation with my students, and I said, do you all know what happens when you make a telephone call? So much processing is happening when you make a telephone call. Like literally, when you're making a telephone call, first of all, your information, right? So your speech is analog. Your speech is being converted to digital. And then once it's being converted to a digital signal, that digital signal is being processed. It's a lot of stuff that's happening. You got modulation, and I don't even want to get into all the technical terms. I'll just say that a lot of processing happens before that signal is transmitted. That signal is then transmitted to a base station that your cell phone is connected to, and that base station is then connecting with other base stations to get to the daggone, to route your signal to the base station of the person that you're actually calling. Then when the person receives that digital signal on the processing end, at some point it is converted back to an analog system, a signal, so that the person can understand what you're saying. Otherwise, it was still a digital signal. You'd be hearing that. So it's a lot of things that are happening. Even when you're just in your car and you're riding around, your cell phone is connected to a base station, and your base station has to literally hand off. So they're calculated. Your cell phone is always being monitored. Like its position is always being monitored, right? And things are being calculated. Your signal strength, which they use as a threshold to determine when to hand it off. But you have different base stations constantly monitoring your cell phone. And then when your cell phone gets within a certain distance from the base station that it's on, your other base station says, now, I said a lot of calculations are happening, but then your phone or these base stations had to communicate, say, oh, she's really closer to this base station. Let me hand the call off over to her. And sometimes that mechanism fails. I mean, I said call off to her. Hand her call off to the base station, the one that you're closest to. So your position relative to base stations is always being computed. And so, a lot of things are happening even when you're just riding down, even if let's say that you're not even on your cell phone, it's still being monitored. Calculations are still being had, and things are happening, I want to say in microseconds, but I would say even faster than that. And going back to what I said earlier, when that mechanism fails, that handoff, that's when your call dropped. You say, oh, my call just dropped. That mechanism failed. when it was trying to figure out a base station you were getting close to, it didn't hand it off fast enough and get you connected to that base station. So your call drops. So again, like you said, Queen, and I love how you picked up that device and you said it's so much happening. Even right now, even on your cell phone, a lot of things are happening that we're just, oblivious to, so.
Yeah. You know what's even deeper is that you get in the satellite. I'm confused. You listen, let me tell you something. I'm confused as to whether or not all this stuff is happening on Earth or a satellite, because GPSing, is that coming from the Earth? Because it seems like it's coming from the Earth. I don't think it's satellite.
I thought GPS was satellite.
I don't think it's satellite. I don't.
From my understanding, and we could do a quick Google search in real time.
I think it's like from towers or something, because for some reason
is based on satellite. Is GPS based on satellite? Yep.
It is.
So yeah, GPS is called Global Positioning System. And just a quick Google search, it says it is a space-based radio navigation system consisting of a constellation of satellites. And it says broadcasting navigation signals in a network of ground stations. So you're right, Queen. There are some ground stations, right? So it says, so I want to read that again, and then I'll start talking. The GPS, or Global Positioning System, it says is a space-based radio navigation system consisting of a constellation of satellites broadcasting navigation signals in a network of ground stations and satellite control stations used for monitoring and control. So let's just look a little bit more. So you have satellites, and then you also have ground stations and satellite control stations. So those satellite stations, it says right here, these stations monitor and control GPS satellites. And then you have receivers, GPS receivers in devices like our phones and cars, which use radio signals to calculate where we are. And while we, and Queen, while we talking about GPS, let's give a shout out to Gladys Mays. Let's give a shout out to Gladys Mays. Gladys Mays. This is the sister. I want to pull her up.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring her.
Yeah, this sister right here. Let me pull her up. She's actually in a paper. Shout out to brother Uncle Cat and I. We wrote a paper, Best Journal. We mentioned her in the Best Journal. So there's a paper that we published in the National Society for Black Engineers. It was actually their first. It was their first journal called Black Excellence in Science and Technology, and so we published a paper. The paper almost has almost 1,000 views and a lot of downloads. But anyway, I want to quickly read something read something about her in the paper, because a lot of people make this mistake and they say she was the Black woman is the mother of GPS. It wouldn't be no GPS without her. Like, she's the mother of it, or she created GPS. And that is not necessarily true. It says right here,
Are you sharing it in the share screen? Or you?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Okay,
I'll share it. Yeah, let me share it.
So I'm glad that you brought her up. This is exactly the direction I wanted to go, is talking about the women in technology.
Beautiful.
And the fact that they are overlooked,
Beautiful.
A lot of females contributing to technology. I don't know why we get so. I don't know why we're not doing it more.
Yes.
So that's what I really wanted to get to. So I'm glad you brought up. You're in the right direction.
Wonderful. And so I do want to uplift right now Gladys, Gladys May West. She's still alive. And in fact, Morgan just gave her honorary doctorate degree. She got an honorary doctoral degree. She was awarded an honorary doctoral degree from Morgan State University in this past May, this past commencement. And when they called her, she said that she wanted to cry, because, Morgan is her alma mater. She graduated. She's a Morganite. She's a Bear. Right. And she said that when Morgan called her to invite her to the commencement so they could present her with an honorary doctorate, she said she lost it. And so this sister is still with us. She's 84 years old, and she's a mathematician. And, and I want to talk about this because we talk about the divine feminine. And I do want to talk about the role that the divine feminine has played in the production of technology, which is based on what? The application of math and science. And I would even argue that Black women, African women, are first mathematicians, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So Gladys Mae West, she is a mathematician. She worked on numerous projects. And for those of you who are looking at my screen, I'm reading this right here. Okay. So Gladys Mae West, she's a mathematician who worked on numerous projects at the U.S. Naval Proving Ground. She worked on the award-winning Naval Ordnance Research Calculator that determined the movements of Pluto in relation to Neptune, a U.S. ocean surveillance satellite called CEOSat. Initially, I thought of CEOSat and Kemet, but we'll go there another time. CEOSat, it says that provided data on oceanographic conditions and features in a satellite program called GeoSat that created computer models of the Earth's surface. It says her latter work led to the creation of a model of the Earth's shape called Geode. This model was one of the foundations of the GPS system. So a lot of people will say, oh, she created the GPS. I would not say that she created GPS. I would say that the work that she and her team did, at the U.S. Naval Proving Ground, at the Naval Ordnance Research Calculator, that the research and the models, the technology that they produce led to or assisted with the creation of the GPS system. But we can't talk about GPS without uplifting this mathematician, this African queen, Gladys Mae West. And while we're talking about women in these spaces, I also want to uplift, and she's an ancestor now. She became an ancestor in 2020. Peace be upon the soul of Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was a sister that was born and raised in Virginia. And this sister was, a mathematician. And I always said that when I do, I'm not going to say if, but when I open up my tech center, I said my auditorium will be named the Katherine Johnson Auditorium. So anyway, this sister was a mathematician who provided NASA with calculations that supported several space missions. Says she determined the paths for NASA spacecrafts to orbit the Earth and travel to the moon. And let me stop sharing my screen. Let me say this. And so that's why when I hear these conspiracy theories on the internet, man never went to the moon, man never orbited the Earth, you are literally discrediting the work of Black women. I don't know if anyone has seen the movie Hidden Figures.
I've seen, yes, definitely.
Those sisters were bad.
Yeah, they were.
We didn't have computers back then. That was before IBM produced their computer. Prior to that, Black women were literally human computers for the government. And they supported space missions by the government. And so, when people say stuff, they never made it to the moon, they never orbited the Earth, you're literally discrediting the work and the brilliance and the accomplishments of Black women. Go ahead, Queen. I'm gonna land my plane. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, no, that was good. That what you did. Yeah, definitely. And I was gonna get into the Hidden Figures and how they were handling those things, and then what they had to work under, the circumstance they had to work under with NASA. Not being able to go to the bathroom, except for all they still had the colored rules and stuff like that, and they still worked hard and still and got people to the moon. So yeah, I definitely believe we made it to the moon.
Absolutely. And you got a lot of people that you got a lot of naysayers now. Oh, they never did that. They never made it to the moon. They never orbited the Earth. And here it is, you're discrediting the work of Black women, And so I take issue with that. But go ahead, Queen. I know it was something else you
so I was talking about the towers, because I was like, because GPS is one thing looking down, but then the towers, it will show you that kind of how the car would drive, but then you got Google and its footage. So, it's just interesting how intricate they've gotten with this technology and where it's headed with AI. What what do you think that people should consider, just how intricate, because Google's whole objective is to store all human data. That's their mission, is to store all human data. That means every conversation, that means everything about you. So DNA, everything. Um,
Absolutely.
and then now you're going to have this huge database of human information. Why? Because then AI comes.
Bingo. Bingo. AI can take that information, and AI can process it faster than 100 human brains, right? So
Exactly.
AI can take that, and I keep telling people that we really have to be careful with AI. We really have to be careful. I'm not trying to spread any conspiracy theories, but I had a conversation with my students, and we had this conversation probably about a month ago, and I asked them, do they believe that man has gone too far? And what prompted me to ask them that question was when Elon Musk revealed that he unveiled, I'm sorry, not revealed, but unveiled his robot. Do you remember that? And they were, pumping it up. Oh yeah, the robot was serving drinks at the bar, and then you had celebrities. You know how they always use celebrities to make things seem cool. So yeah, 2 Chainz. The robot served 2 Chainz a drink. And then some people said, oh, and then you had Little Bootsy commenting, man, these robots by Elon Musk are cool. So they always use celebrities, especially when you're trying to talk to black people, black celebrities, to make things seem cool and acceptable. What I told my students is this, and we had a really good conversation. I said, let me tell you something. I said, before you know it, AI will be the bartender, and that bartender will be out of a job. I said, do you all understand where the world is heading right now? In years to come, the need for human labor it's already starting to decrease.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. I remember my aunt sent me a video. It was either a video or a picture. She was in Philadelphia for a conference, and a guy was. She said she saw that. And I hear some feedback too, Queen. But there was a gentleman who was flying in a drone, and he was using a drone to power wash. He was using a drone to power wash. Exactly, scam Shan. But they were using a drone to power wash a building. And I said to myself, can you imagine how many jobs that device took away from some men that used to power wash big buildings? And so it's in California, they just opened up a restaurant that's run by AI. They said there's maybe a couple of registers in there with 2 human beings, but AI is making the burgers. AI is being used. They use facial recognition. They're using facial recognition in order to remember your order, and you do have the option of modifying it. But they have facial recognition to remember, you and when you came in and what you last ordered. You can reorder it, and AI is back there on the grill. Think of how many jobs are taken away from them. Think about, since Elon Musk have unveiled robots, they have robots now it's placed in certain places at the ports. At ports, they have them at warehouses, Amazon warehouses. You have robots stocking shelves now. You got. I told my students in the next 5 years, and they already have it in certain places, California, China. You'll be ordering an Uber, and it'll be autonomous driving car pulling up and taking you where you need to go. So I keep telling them, while people think AI is cool and it's a great tool, I say you do need to understand the implications of AI, right? The economic implications, even the social and the cultural implications of AI. And so I'm a little heavy, Queen, when I think about where the world is heading.
The world is headed towards singularity,
Mm.
where we merge with the AI. That's why they're trying to put the Neuralink within our brains.
I heard about that Neuralink.
They're trying to make us basically one with the machine.
Mm.
And so
go ahead.
and I think that that's what they consider to be evolution, especially when they're able to take our consciousness and put it inside the machine.
Oh,
And then that means we can go to the moon and we can go to Mars and we don't have to worry about breathing.
Mm.
So they're trying to play God. So it's never.
Yeah, they really
And,
are.
and
No,
maybe that's
they
what
really
we
are.
did. Maybe that's what we did before.
Elaborate on that.
Maybe
Expound
that's
on. Put yourself back on the screen. Let's expound on that. You said, "Baby, that's what we did before."
I said maybe that's what we did before. You know, who knows? Maybe that's who brought us here.
Look, I'm at a point. I've learned to never I'm not discounting anything.
Well, you know
'Cause,
they found the UFOs, right? They finally admitted to the UFOs. That been
Yeah, they were
underground.
saying that was a conspiracy theory for years, you know. And remember that book, "Behold a Pale Horse" by William Cooper.
Yeah.
And so remember, they were like, "Oh, he's a quack, and it's no such thing as this, and it's no such thing." They kind of dismissed him. And then
Mhm.
now in 2024, things are being admitted. Oh yeah, we really did find it. Oh, you really did find a UFO. So they are admitting things slowly but surely. But I'm at a point where I don't dismiss anything. There's a wise saying that it said a wise man knows they knows nothing at all. And that what we think we know is like a pebble in a sea of knowledge. It's like a pebble in a sea of knowledge.
Let me
So
tell
I
you
don't
something.
I don't sit there and be like, "Oh no, that's not new."
Let me tell you how
I'm
like
open.
creepy I've been thinking lately. I'm like, is Hollywood a whole thing of the CIA, a whole CIA operation? Because why is the movies coming out with stuff before it actually really happens? Number one, because that movie, what was it with the what was it? Not us. What's the one?
iRobots?
No, it was a Jordan Peele movie, and it was about the UFO. What was it about? It was like not. It was Hell No, or what was it? It was like, oh no, or dang, it was the most recent one. It had Kiki Palmer in it.
Let me Google it. It was a Jordan Peele movie?
Yes, and it was about a UFO, but they found out that the UFO itself was an actual.
Oh, nope. You talk about nope.
I would say hell no.
Yep, nope.
Hell
Nope.
no. You know
Yep,
what? Nope.
yep.
Right. Something. Right. So nope had like a name, synonym for it or whatever, acronym. Why are they saying that these UFOs could be creatures like organisms, same way as nope? So now I'm like, okay, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
And what was Jordan Peele talking about? Transferring the consciousness, right? So there's two movies that they allowed to be produced by this director that was talking about one, transference of consciousness.
Transferring
and
consciousness.
Before that, you had Vanilla Sky talking about cryogenics back in 1995, transferring of consciousness. So it sounds to me that they're trying to be able to. I think that what they're fooling around with is how can we take the mind and put it into another a creature that can't die.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, man is trying to play God. That's what man. But let me say this, and while we're on movies, there's two movies I thought about. I thought about Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. And do you remember like a lot of that technology? And I'm specifically talking about Back to the Future Part 2. That movie came out. Let me type it in real quick. Back to the Future 2. That movie came out in 1989. A lot of the technology that they talked about or that they showed in that movie, we use it today. Face recognition, finger recognition, face recognition, voice recognition. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that. Remember when Marty, when the woman, so Marty had went back to his home in the future. Remember, the girlfriend was knocked out. I think she fell out. She passed out. He went in there, but she was able to get out of the house with her thumb because your thumb never changes. So he was able to use a thumb and get out of the house. Thumb recognition. He came in the house, went like this, and then the lights came on.
Mm-hmm.
Facial recognition. They also in that movie, when they were talking, and we were like, "Oh, that's cool." They were doing they were FaceTiming each other. One guy was on a screen. They were literally FaceTiming each other. This was things that they were talking about in 1989. I'm sorry. And we have to remember that the government is 60 years ahead of us.
Right.
So the government already knows what reality is going to be like for human beings in 2084. They already know. They're already ahead.
I believe they're using Hollywood as a vehicle to slowly put out movies to get us ready for the next step in society. I think
Absolutely.
that that's all Hollywood is to like kind of keep us dumbed down. Because even the television, what did they say? It was a thing that was used in the concentration camps for mind
Yes.
control.
Yes.
So why would we think
Yes.
they would put all this stuff in American households and not have an agenda behind it, right? So now you have this information being put out here, these movies that clearly are telling us what's going to happen. Even that thing, it was called a 3-part problem or something like that.
Mhm.
That you see that one on Netflix, a 3-story problem.
No.
Man, you need to watch that one because it's like y'all are just telling us what's going. Y'all are just telling, and you know what it is it talks about the aliens coming, but the aliens seem like AI. The way that it communicates is that the aliens is AI. And let me say another thing. What did Minority Report? What was the alien? The alien was controlling the machine because what happened is that they could tell whether or not you were going to commit a crime in the future. They had the facial scanners that would scan your face, and it would knew beforehand that you had the capacity to commit a crime. So the robots would come and get you and arrest you so that it wouldn't happen because it was in a crimeless society, right? But
what was the name of this called?
It was Minority Report with Tom.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm watching that tonight. But I want to say this too, Queen. I remember years ago when I was a teenager, my uncle, he took me to the movies to see this movie called Time Machine, and it showed, and I haven't seen the movie Scam.
What were they? Wait, hold on. They weren't in Minority. What were they? What they weren't aliens?
Scam Shan, tell us what it was. But let me finish this thought real quick, Queen. So there was a movie called The Time Machine, and I want to watch that with my son, Jalen. But in that movie, it showed how man just went too far. And it showed that man actually destroyed itself. Like man actually self-destructed. And then the world, like everything started over again. I remember that at the end of the movie, you know how they say, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And at the end, it was just the earth was grassy and it was just like people kind of like living in nature because man went too far. And it showed how man went from like the 1800s all the way through like the 2000s, and eventually man just went too far. And I think that is what is going to eventually happen. I think man is just going to go too far and self-destruct.
I don't think so. I think that there really are sentient beings on this planet that are hidden in another world. And before we destroy this earth, they're gonna reveal themselves, and they might get rid of us, but they might keep a few. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm like they coming up out the oceans, man. They coming up out the ocean.
Hey, look, I'm not knocking anybody.
You ain't heard about the UFO?
I'm not. I heard about it because Dr. Wesley Muhammad, shout out to Dr. Muhammad, he put it out there. He was like, yeah, you all thought we were crazy when we talked about UFOs, but now the government is saying that it is a such thing as UFOs. So I'm at a point.
Ola Kun. Who do you think? Oh, Yemaya Olakun.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
Was the first begin. You know what I'm saying? The depths of the ocean, right? So we knew about it. We knew about it, but I don't know why I think we forgot.
Could be.
That's the first creator. That was the creation itself, the darkness. And what happens is even in darkness there's light. If you actually go down into the depths of the ocean, what do you see? Like creatures that light up.
Ashe.
So yeah, in the darkness. So
like you said, maybe we just forgot. You know what I mean? Given everything.
Well, the people that practice the religion, they know.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? People that practice the tradition, that understand that, because all Ifa is binary code in a search engine. That's all Babalawo is doing is that's your first computer right there. Okay, what's going on? Open up the portal. Okay, open up the search engine. Let's see what's happening. Throw your Opele down. Okay, this is what's about to happen. This is what Ifa is saying. That was the first database.
I love how you said it's a binary code, and what did you say? A
It's a,
computer.
yeah, it's a database.
I love it. I love it. I love that. I mean, I love that. And like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because
And,
like you
and
said, you like you said, it's it's either this or that, right? So like you said, it's binary, zeros, ones. I'm
yeah.
with you. I'm with you.
So,
And then based on that code, this is what
the Odu is
this
256.
Ashe.
256 major and minor Odu. 16 major, 256 minor Odu. So those are the combination of how it weighs that things come into creation.
Mm.
So that's how they were able to tell you what could happen in this situation or that situation, and say, okay, well, and even the Ebo, what I thought about the Ebo is really a way to jar things, because you might be head down a certain way to do something to like kind of throw things off a little bit and send you another path.
Let me ask you this, Queen. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this, and this is something that I often thought about, especially when I think of diviners. You know, Shaka Zulu killed all of the diviners because he didn't feel like they were giving him proper information, and so he just discarded all of the diviners. But then I think about like the diviners in traditional African societies, and let me ask you this, and I'm just I just want to pick your brain about something. So why didn't our ancestors see the Ma'afa coming, or are there documents that they did? I'm talking about your diviners. Why didn't they see? Why didn't they understand what was going to happen with the Arabs? I'm talking about the trans-Saharan slave trade. I don't even want to call it a slave trade, but the trans-Saharan kidnapping trade, and then the transatlantic. Why didn't they all see that?
Who said that they didn't?
That's what I'm asking you. Is there any documentation that they did?
Well,
or somebody sensed that something was coming. Maybe not have known exactly what it was, but
there's a reading done every year for the country, or because even in America, in Florida, it's called the letter of the year. They do it.
Yeah, they say my Babylao says it every January. You come see me,
right? And then is the diviner for the king gets one, I think, done once a month, sometime every 16 days. So I'm sure they was told something, but if they don't have the right gunpowder to fight it off, what they gonna do?
Yeah. So you think
you can like be told everything, but if you ain't got the tools, these people came in with machine guns. How you gonna? You got bows and arrows, whatever you fight.
They ain't coming with machine guns.
They did have machine guns.
They had the one-shot shotguns. You said they had.
Wait. No, I'm talking about when Leopold, what's his name?
Oh, you talking about them? No. I'm going to the Portuguese. I'm going to the Portuguese.
Yeah.
So they had that one. Yeah,
right. They didn't have machine guns.
Well, you said machine guns. I was like, no, they didn't have.
They did. I think they eventually got a hold of some gunpowder eventually, but I think that the society was not. If you're not expecting people to come in with guns, but but here's the thing: is that you never know exactly what the story. I never really got deep into the story of why. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just curious. Like,
I would have to ask some people that are connected to that time frame and say, so why didn't we know? You know what I'm saying? Because
we had, like you said, the diviners were there. Like, so I'm just thinking, or did they know? And like you said, just could not do anything.
Possibly.
So
I'm just thinking the people that I mean, the half of them got put into the slave trade and shipped here and there. So that story, who knows what the story is, right? They got shipped to different places. They were, and separated, so they were very strategic in how they came across, and at one time, slavery was not necessarily even done in like a harmful way. They had like slavery, but it was like an indentured servitude. So, and then they even had people that even had their own slaves. Even in America, there was Black people that was over here indentured. But then there was a situation that happened where the government actually switched up on them too. You know what I'm saying? So there were actually, I think, in Jamestown, there were like Black slave owners along with white slave owners and people that were indentured, that were freed and stuff like that, and also that were slaves, but they were not what do you call this? I have a whole, I'll show you the video that runs it down, but it's interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, I would have to do some more research to tell you the answer to that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just curious, like just wanting to know, and prayerfully I'll be able to take a trip to Nigeria and meet with the the Yoruba folks and connect with the spiritual folks,
Hmm.
over there, because those are the kind of questions, I mean, that I do have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Queen, do you have any closing questions? I know that we're like 5 minutes because I got to get ready to go at 8 o'clock on the nose here.
Well, I
But do you have any?
definitely we're gonna have to bring you back because we didn't really get to really delve deep. We did get to get like a good like introduction of a conversation because I really want to get into the STEM, the children. I really go want to get into your curriculum as as a founder and teacher, uh,
Absolutely.
and go into the children and how how can we be more effective in getting our children in the STEM and the importance of that.
Oh yeah, that's hot. That's a whole, like you said, that's a whole nother discussion. So when let me know your availability and bring me back because I would love to have that discussion because right now, only 5% of engineers and scientists are black.
Mm,
Just 5%. And so it's kind of scary when you think about where the world is heading and you say, well, 5% of us, I'm sorry, are in this space. And so my goal has been to inspire more African, more black, however people identify, more
mhm.
of us
Yeah.
in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And mainly, what I've been doing is doing this through two ways, two avenues. The first one was creating youth empowerment STEM camps and STEM camps and programs for our children specifically. And so creating that, so putting them in a space where we are, because it's not just me. We are exposing the students to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but exposing them to that, and this is part two, because I said two ways, in a way that piques their interest, in a way that feels normal to them, in a way where they can see themselves in the curriculum, in a way where they take ownership of science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I created, and anybody can Google this, the African centered STEM educational model. And when I say I created it, I formalized it, and I'm collecting the data to legitimize it. But this model stands on the shoulder of so many African-centered educators. I want to lift up Kwame Nkrumah. This Bible wrote the book Nation Building Theory. Nation Building African-centered Education Theory and Practice. And he's now an ancestor. And so I want to lift him up. I also want to lift up Dr. Amos Wilson. Dr. Amos Wilson, from studying his work, I actually got put on to Baba Kwame Nkrumah's work. So I do want to uplift Baba Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Amos Wilson. I want to uplift Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I want to also uplift the work of Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. I want to uplift the work of Dr. Malefe Asante. I want to uplift the work of all African-centered educators. Shout out to Baba Amin Ojuok. Shout out to Baba Imhotep. And so this model stands on their shoulders. So I say, yes, I created the African-centered STEM model, but the model stands on their shoulders. And so I do see that you have the UACI STEM camp on the screen. Shout out to Baba Amin and Mama Nkoyo of the Uhuru Academy. The UACI STEM camp is a joint, it's a partnership, it's a collaboration between the Uhuru Academy, Conscious Ingenuity, which is my program, Uhuru Academy. That's the school of Baba Amin and Mama Nkoyo, and also Morgan State University CAP Center. Shout out to Dr. Kevin Cornegay. And so this is an African-centered camp that exposes children, Black children, to STEM. You're also looking at the Agoji camp and the team. Shout out to those warriors. That is an African-centered STEM camp that focuses on critical thinking, character enrichment, self-defense, and other life skills. We also have the Asafo training camp for young boys. You can go to the asafocamp.com. So the Asafo, of course, that's a con word for, there we go, the Asafo training camp. And so that is our camp that focuses on manhood development in young boys between the ages of 12 and 14. This is a collaboration between Ed Enemy Productions and PLM. Shout out to PLM. That's Baba Imhotep and his beautiful queen, Mama Ife. And so that is the Agoji camp. And then last but not least, we have Meltrek365.com. Meltrek365.com. Meltrek is an animated film series and book series that teaches children Black history from a Black perspective. Right now, we offer 3 films. Meltrek Episode 1, Exploring Ancient Africa. Meltrek Episode 2, Exploring the Pre-Columbian Americas. And Meltrek Episode 3, Exploring the Ma'afa. Part 1, The Arrival of the Portuguese. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the website, you'll see the 3 films there. And if you click on any one of the films, it will take you to a screen where you can download the films instantly. And right there, so click on one of those films. You can click on any of those films. When you download it, when you click on it, you can download the film from one of those. You can download them right there. And so, oh, you buying it right now, Queen? Hold on. She said, I'm buying it. Oh, you looking at the trailer? She said, I'm looking at the trailer. But
this summer,
yeah. So
Anime Productions presents.
Oh, you want to play the trailer?
Meltrek, Episode 1, Exploring Ancient Africa. Witness the most accurate historical account of African American people. A story that has never been told like this before. Join Bunchy, Chin, Percy, Michelle.
Yeah, so every one of these films, you can see a trailer attached to it, so you can get an idea for what it's about. And so I just would ask everyone to grab these films. Right now, we're living in a climate where they are eliminating Black history from the curriculum, and not even just from the curriculum. They're not even offering Black history courses. So you have politicians threatening to snatch funding away from schools that actually teach Black history. So I would say that it's imperative that everyone buy tools like Meltrek. And, of course, Meltrek isn't the only tool, but buy tools such as Meltrek, where you now have the power to teach your children Black history. Now, I will say this, as long as our tax dollars are paying for educational institutions, they should be teaching Black history in the public school system, especially because our tax dollars pay for it. However, I also believe that the onus should not rely solely on the school system to teach our children our history. We should be teaching our children our history right in our home. My son Jalen, he'll tell you since he was 4, we used to play Meltrek in his room over and over and over again until he went to sleep as a young boy. And so he reads the books. Even now, he's reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. He has a whole bunch of books on history, and he's 14. And so it's not the school system's responsibility to teach our children our history. It is our responsibility as well. And so thank you so much, Queen, for having me and allowing me to share my thoughts and also to promote, my programs on your podcast. And so I do look forward to dialoguing with you soon.
Definitely. And Dr. Claude Anderson said that we are on the information highway. If we're not in control of what we're transporting, what are we doing?
That's right.
What are we transporting?
That's right.
AI is going to be coming up pretty soon. We should not just only be consuming AI. We need to get behind AI. We need to be having our own corporations, companies that are behind the veil. A lot of times we have a hard time raising money for our own, having our own Y Combinators, so to speak, or our own think camps or hackathons and things like that. We need to start doing more of those for these AI products and start coming out with our own products, because what will happen is that, like she said, is that we will just only be slaves to it. We will not be in control of it.
That's right. That's right. And we want to be in control. We want to be in control. And that, that is, in the words of my father, that is the name of the game. We want ownership and we want to be in control, and so that should be the goal. That should be the end goal. So with that, Queen, thank you so much. Let's coordinate something, via inbox again for me to come on and talk about, the curriculum and talk about the African-centered STEM education model. I would love to talk about that and the theoretical frameworks that it's based on and the model features and what the model feeds and how the model is being currently implemented. So let's really, really get into that. The next talk.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
We should relabel this part 1.
Right. I'm gonna label on part 1. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
go into. All right. Ashe, thank you.
Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy. My friend, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright from darkness to light.